So, we rebuilt educational departments, and today we have built over 1,000 schools in our regions. And in every region, 6 regions, every region built a university. We rebuilt healthcare and health departments, over 400 healthcare centers, hospitals, and in the campus of the main regions. Somaliland is proud of that. It's a liberal free market, absolutely free market of economy. 90% of our GDP is in the hands of the business people in the market. GDP of Somaliland is 3 billion in the year 2021. International trade, 1.6 billion in the year 2020. International investors. DB Well has built a airport for the first phase, $400 million US. And now this year they will start the second phase of 600 million US dollars. ADDF, Coca-Cola, General Energy, CBS of Taiwan, which is exploring an oil in our country. Public finance. Finance public services from domestic taxes, only for our domestic taxes. No budget support from wherever. No budget deficit. No external debt. We are safe of debt. We have built with all our institutions, hospitals, schools, infrastructure, with only our home domestic taxes. International relations. We have representatives in 28 countries all over the world. Consulates in Hargeisa are from Kenya, from Djibouti, Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates, Turkish, Taiwan, from offices from Denmark and UK. Why our relations came together? What we are expected from the United States, I'm happy. As our delegation, our main goal was to explain to the people of the United States, as much as we can reach, their intellectuals, their politicians, and their leaders about the case of Somaliland. Our main goal is to get a recognition from the international community and to convince intellectuals, leaders, and politicians in our case. Because for the last 2 years, we were internally building the country. So we must first clean our house to build our internal institutions. So everyone whom we are talking with to be convinced that there is a government and institutions who are working efficiently. So now we have a chance to explain our case to the world. So that's why we came to this visit. Sure, we are aware of that. We cannot gain a recognition in one delegation or few days. We know it's a long path to go. But we believe that every long journey starts from one step. So we have now explaining to the United States administration when we met them, since we are starting to explain our case and our goal is recognition, we need now to start an engagement in many fields. Engagement and to work, to cooperate. Our country locates a very strategical position in the world. The Red Sea, our border, the furthest western border, that historical town of Zara is only 70 kilometers from the Bab el-Mandeb. I think over 35% of world trade goes through Red Sea. Most of the extremists, Al-Shabaab and others, are in our neighbors in the Horn of Africa. So we're kept here to have an engagement with the United States administration for the safety of their country and for the safety of the world trade. Besides our disunification, there was another delegation with us. It was all businessmen. We were trying, since we have been isolated from the world financial institutions, that our businessmen and business people to have a waiver to cooperate with the International Monetary Fund institutions like the World Bank, IMF, and others, because we have the right that since we have enough resource in our country, that we can build our country and build our future, the international monetary systems to accept, to cooperate our financial institutions. Otherwise, we have enough resource, but since they cannot communicate with it simply because of political system, we should separate the political system from the economical system. Otherwise, Somaliland will be like a surrounding pig. Why? So that's what we were explaining for the last week, all the financial institutions, international institutions, and here are our advisors. Luckily, most of Dr. Ismail was about 35 years or more, maybe 40 years. He was a senior staff of the World Bank. So we're explaining them why. US collaborations, security and intelligence collaboration. We propose it to them. Coast Guard training, our Coast Guard training. Investment in natural resources, minerals and oil. Contribution to the development of Berber at the Solomon Corridor. The United Arab Emirates have built our port to extend it, and they have built a corridor between Somaliland and Ethiopia. But there are many countries in the region which are landlocked, and we are expecting that our ports, not only Berbera, our ports, will make service for all these countries: Uganda, Central Africa, Ethiopia, and etc. Southern Sudan. So since we are thinking, and our vision is that our ports will serve the whole African landlocked countries and beyond. We're proposing the administration of President, how can we cooperate in developing the trade, international trade, and in between the regions of Africa to develop the people and to make employment for the youth. We are aware of that. More than 78% of the youth in the whole of Africa are unemployed. So we need a development to make employment for the future of our people. And that needs resource. And someone has that resource. But the international monetary departments must accept to cooperate with us. Otherwise, we will be a people who are isolated and just cannot make any development. And that our youth will go the other way. So the extremists, they will be refusal to everything. So our vision is to make a huge progress to our development. Elections and democracy. In our country, we have our people voting for Democratic Republic of Somalia, 97% of our population, 97%, almost 100%. And still they believe it. But to us, since we are now a country rebuilding from zero our government, we have a huge problem with the democracy challenge. First, in 5 years, we have every 5 years, 3 elections. This year the president, next year the parliament, next year the local government. The expenses of these elections is very huge to us. Second, that this year it's a presidential election, and there is a campaign, and there will be a conflict between the parties, between the class of the society, between the regions. Then the election will go on. Whole next year, we are going to make peacemaking between reconciliation, between conflicts of the effects of the election. Third year, there's a parliamentary, the state, lots of experts, then campaign, then peacemaking, conflict resolutions after that. Third year, the local governments. So, we want to build our institutions' capacity, political parties, the election committees, the people, and our youth who are unemployed. They were expecting every year, election after election, to get unemployment, to get a progress, to build industry so that they can work for. So they're asking me as a president and every politician, well, election, what's after election? So we came here to have a capacity building of the experience of this country and others of democracy to help us how democracy will survive in Africa and developing countries. What's new to it? Well, we're expecting cooperation in that field. We have proposing that this administration or United States government should open a consulate in Hargeisa. Why? In the summertime, nearly 20,000 American citizens go their holidays, their children and families to Somalia. So they need consulate service. They need unserviced consulate. They should take an ticket, airline, go to Nairobi, Kenya, or to Ethiopia, a lot of expenses and time consuming. So first, that consulate will serve the citizens of American citizens, and it will be a good channel that they can work with Somaliland government and people. So that is our proposal. Since there are more than 15 countries have offices in Somalia. The US aid will go through USA office and others. It goes through Mogadishu, because the United Nations have, when we asked them, since it's a humanitarian assistance, why don't you give to Somaliland directly? For example, COVID-19, the first year, it was very serious all over the world. So the United States and the United Nations, the government, and also the United Nations, the WHO, they sent a number of vaccinations to Somalia. And that went to Mogadishu, Somalia. But unluckily, with mismanagement and inefficiency of that government in Mogadishu, the COVID-19 vaccination was in their hands, especially at the airport, until it became outdated. They didn't reach us, Somalia. It was in the airports of Mogadishu until it outdated. So we didn't get any vaccine from the WHO and the US, United States assistance of the COVID-19. So we are proposing all humanitarian assistance to our country must be directed to the people who we have targeted to give them, not the government. All in all, let me remind you, with the cooperation of our American citizens and Somaliland citizens, they have built a school near our capital, Hargeisa, 20 kilometers west of Hargeisa. That school was very successful for the last 10 or 12 years. Now there are 200 students from grade 7 to 12, and 50% of them are girls. Those who have been graduated are all in the universities of American universities. Every state has students from above. That was a very good example. If we cooperate with the American citizens in every field, hospital, business, education, and any other field, that school is a good example that we can follow and help young leaders, tomorrow leaders. You will remember Somaliland and its situation, which I have stated here. Thank you very much to you all. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you so much for really a great talk that has covered so much. It really is a remarkable story. Somaliland, devastated by civil war, that really pulled itself up, as we say, by its own bootstraps, without external help. And it makes one wonder if perhaps the absence of external help was actually an advantage. That all of that was done with domestically mobilized resources versus external assistance, and kind of building that social compact between the governed and the government. So, I mean, it makes a very interesting case in that way as well. On the question of recognition, just for those not familiar, the reason that it is important that Somaliland was independent for 5 days is that the African Union and the Organization of African Unity, its predecessor, has made kind of the principle that you do not recognize a country, but that it would stick with the borders inherited at independence, the colonial borders left at independence, and with very few exceptions that has maintained. And Somaliland's case is that actually the borders that they inherited at independence had it as a sovereign independent state that then voluntarily united with Somaliland. So the case is a strong one in many ways, and yet the African Union has been hesitant and I wonder if you see that changing. What are the factors that might, because I think it's unlikely that the United States or others are going to step in front of the African Union on an issue like that. But do you see that evolving and changing as, what might be the factors that make that, change the African Union's stance on that? We can take a couple of questions if you'd like, or...
Welcome.
Okay, so that's just the one. Yes, sir. And microphone's coming. I grabbed one of them.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's it. Oh. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask you a question about international engagement. So, what kind of factors that is in play to let your government decide that you want to look for U.S. for help instead of China? Is it economic commitment or the way of doing things that's different between China and the U.S.?
I think yours is working.
I think we are not against China if they are cooperating with us. But when we have made a cooperation with Taiwan, the China government was very angry about it. So, but we believe that we have the right to cooperate with every government. And our principle is to extend a peaceful hand to every country, to every community. Because we have experienced war and its effects, negative effects for the last 40 years. So we are ready to cooperate with the Chinese government if they are ready for that. But if they are not, doesn't matter. They have their own rights and we respect their situation. The United States, we came here because we have met a lot of times their diplomats, their intellectuals, and then after a long discussion with the United States government, we have agreed to enhance our cooperation in many fields. And that's why we came here. And we are trying to reach every country and every community because it's our responsibility to convince everyone. Our case, it's that historically it's right, morally it's right, international law it's right to be recognized in our country. And we have fulfilled all these factors. Thank you very much.
Questions? Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, Mr. President. In the interest of developing the existing democratic system in Somaliland, what would you say is your top priority if the U.S. were to potentially engage in this agreement?
waxa ugu muhiimsan ee ay maanta Mareykanka kala shaqeynayaan developmentka.
Our first priority is a recognition, but we know the situation is not right for that. Political in the United States. Then there is steps to be taken and understanding before the recognition. So our main issues to cooperate United States of America, number one is security. we are in a very fragile region of the world. And there are a lot of conflicts in that region. I think you know we have about Somalia and Shabab. And you know all the region, a lot of conflicts. Sudan, now the government is shaking. So all our neighbors are not in a good shape, most of them. So first, we need cooperation with the security to our country, and to your country, and to the worldwide, to make cooperate the safety of the Red Sea. Second, we want to cooperate in social service, education, water, health, top priority for our people. Third, how to reduce the unemployment of our youth. And that's why we brought here our businessmen, so that to get away that our business have a chance to work with the World Bank and international financial departments. So these are the top priorities we are proposing to operate, and we understand a lot about it. That's first, security. Second, social service for our people, health, education, etc. And third, how to reduce the unemployment in our country. And to get a channel, our businessmen, our free market to work, the free market of the world. These are for us, our priority today.
I wonder if I might just ask one question on the unemployment. I mean, how do you see structurally being able to employ, the very large youth population? Do you see a path to industrialization, or do you have what's the strategy for transforming the economy?
Mass employment, I think we need what Eisenhower have done in America after the Second World War. That's to build the infrastructure. Roads, trains, bridges, building. That you can make a mass employment. That's what we have done in Germany after the Second World War. So we need a resource to that. To some extent, we have the resource. But our resource has the rate. Then we will use our resource first, and if you help us, it's fine and good. So we know we have the system. We have enough sea coast with virgin fishes, and what you call it now, silicon, minerals, oil in our sea. So we need to be assisted. How can we get our resources, to exploit our resources? That's what we need.
Professor Brinkerhoff. Jennifer Brinkerhoff or Professor? Mike's coming.
Good morning, President, and thank you so much for being with us today at the Elliott School. I wondered if you could speak to us a little bit about the contributions of the Somaliland diaspora to the development and stability of the country. Thank you.
Very good question. I forgot to mention in my points when I was in the meeting. Thank you very much. It reminds me of that. The diaspora of Somaliland, they took a major role to rebuilding our country. When we were building the country from zero level, the only people who built most of the institutions that were today are the diaspora. Telecommunication, infrastructure, hospitals, schools. They took the great share on contributing to all these institutions. Up to date, the climate change has affected negatively to most of the Horn of African countries. Today, for the last 3 months, there was a drought. And the diaspora, Somaliland, they have contributed 40% of the expense of assisting the nomads and the farmers who have been negatively affected by the climate change. So they are playing a role that's very historical, and that people knows thanks to them, our diaspora. We thank them a lot, and still they continue to their support. Good example is Dr. Ismail. Sit together. He has a big free marketing politics in Hargeisa. Around 50% or 100% are employed the youth in his assets. So they do a wonderful job, our diaspora.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And then over there.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. The facts you shared about democracy in your country are extremely impressive, and I was wondering what you think your role is in creating successful democratic institutions.
Yes, we have successfully made 3 presidential elections for the last 50 years, 20 years. And the power of the presidency was transferred in a peaceful manner. And that's unique in the whole of Africa. 2005, our president of my party, he lost the contest only 80 votes, 80. And we accept it. And that's very historic. I think.
Happened here.
It's historic. You know, get them from the websites. And besides that, it was strange enough. The president, our candidate, as a career part, my party, he was the leader of the SRM. That's the front which defeated the dictator. He was the leader of the army who defeated dictator Siad Barre. And he accepted. And who was his contender? He was the national security of the Siad Barre man. Just only a few years, he accepted so. Because we took the idea that all Somaliland those who were in the guerrilla, in the SRM, those who were in the system of Siad Barre, we are all Somalilanders. So we joined hand to hand. So we have succeeded 3 presidential elections. 3 local government elections, changing the mayors in a very peaceful manner. 2 parliamentary elections, 25 years. And that was very huge pressure to us, economically, security, social. So that's why I'm proposing to the United States government to assist the democratic institutions, which are very new to us. And it has a pressure to our economy, to our security, to our social behaviors. Campaign is a campaign. We will remember the last campaign, whatever the capital held. What do you think about Somalia? Thank you very much.
Don't remind us. Let's see, Max, and then we're going to check in. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to Siaka first, and then Max, and then we'll check in on Zoom questions. So Siaka. Sorry, I'm not making it easy for the mic.
Thank you. Good morning, President Abdi, and thank you for gracing us with your presence here. Going back to Jennifer's question about the role the African Union is playing and what are the prospects of them recognizing Somaliland, and also what about Great Britain having won your independence from them? Has there been any consultation with that party? Thank you.
The African Union have sent a delegation to Somaliland 2005. At that commission, they conclude their report that the search of Somaliland of recognition is historically and legally unique to African continents. They use the word unique, and they explain it. Unique, Somaliland is in the borders of the colonial time. And again, it is independence in 1960. At that time, 26 governments, including the United States of America and Israel, have recognized Somalia. 26 countries. So they voluntarily joined with their brothers, with the vision and aspiration of to make a government of all Somali speaking language or ethnic Somalis. Those in Kenya, those in Ethiopia, those in Djibouti. As if you have seen the Somali flag, it's a blue, as an Indian Ocean, not to see. And 5 stars. 5 stars is what? 5 Somali ethnic communities under the colony at that time. Djibouti, ethnic in Ethiopia, ethnic Somalis in Kenya, and Eritrea and Somalia. But that vision was failed. That vision was failed. It's all man have all the time collects the history. The Secretary Harton sends regards to Somaliland independence. Press release number June 27, the United States.
Oh, interesting. The letter of recognition.
The recognition of the United States at that time. So, historically, it's right. Internationally, legally. Somalia was voluntarily united to Somalia and voluntarily retreated from the Union when the Somali government collapsed in 1991. So they concluded to that. Still, they don't accept the revolution, but they cooperate with us. You know, we have the problem. Every country, every president, every organization we met said, yes, you have every right, but we will not be the first. We will be the second. So I look at who will be the first? The superpower after the 1991. When the Soviet Union collapsed, there's only one leader in the country, in the globe. That's the United States of America. Isn't it? I'm a superpower. Now they get a challenge. So, also the United States say, we will not be the first. Let's say it another one. It's an African problem. An African problem, Africans are looking at the superpower, how they are looking. So we have a lot of work to do. To go to everyone and to explain our case and to confess. That's why we are sitting here today. Tomorrow leaders of the United States. It should be in your mind. And so on, that's still subject to this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. Max, and then we'll go to Eli for Zoom.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Excuse me. So recently, a lot of the world's attention has been focused on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So I was wondering if there have been any impacts, if any at all, on the region, on Somaliland, and on the nature of your trip to the United States.
The conflict in Ukraine, I think it will not have, I think it will not make any impact on Somalia. Simply because it took all the attention of the big superpowers is in Ukraine. But in the other hand, it gives a wake-up call to the United States and the Europeans. For the last 32 years, the United States and Europeans were free of their vision to the world, superpower. China, Iran, India, Brazil, they have become our strong countries coming out. Not judging them, but they are strong. So with that, I think the US, the United States of America, the Western liberal democracies, they will focus on all of the world. Hey, where are we? And on that attention, I hope we will get it.
Elad, do you have some questions from the Zoom participants?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for your remarks, and we're very fortunate to be able to share this event with everyone in the room, but also people who are outside the room who weren't able to be here from really everywhere. We have a few questions if we have time for them. So the first, national engagement.
They can play a good role. Somalia has a lot of resources. As far as I have been proven, a lot of minerals and oil. Besides the fishing, we have a people, we have an asset that our community, and they will get a peaceful country, stable, have a lot of fields to be invested in every field, and also welcome their investment. So that their investment will make huge employment of our people and development of our economy. So they can play a role which is very vital for us to play.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So the next question we have from the audience on Zoom is a question about the African Union again. So what role has the African Union played in Somaliland's response to COVID-19? Is there a potential for greater cooperation with the African Union in the future? And how do you see that cooperation?
We have received a cooperation from WHO, World Health Organizations. As government of African Union, I think they have not that capacity, that resource, to assist any government about such a pandemic. So we have not received, aside from, I remember, not much from the African Union.
There's the African CDC now. I don't know if they would engage in something. No.
No.
Right. And then, just for time for this, we're running low on it, and we're just so appreciative of you giving us this time today. We'll have one more of these Zoom questions, and that is, you've spoken a lot about how much of the Horn of Africa, there's a lot of other countries who are not in as good of shape as Somaliland. So how do the situations in countries around Somaliland impact the affairs of Somaliland itself?
I think we have a lot of governments in Africa which are not in good shape, especially about democracy. They will not make any impact on our people and our community. Why? The people, you can make an impact to the people if you show them what is better than their situation. Since there are not better situation to our government and to our institutions, not so democratic, not so cooperative, not so peaceful, they cannot make it, I don't think they can make any impact to us. But if they are better than us economically, security, liberality of the free market, they have nothing better than us. So I think they will not make any impact to us.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I'll turn it back to Director Koch now.
We are at time, and I just want to thank the President for spending this time with us. Somalilanders that I've talked to have said that they are extremely proud of their President, and I don't think there can be a better tribute to a leader for kind of thinking strategically about Somaliland's place, its engagement in foreign affairs, and in its kind of domestic development. And so I think we've gotten a sense of that from you today, where that pride comes from. I hope for those of you who've been less familiar with Somaliland that you'll be watching the news, doing some reading. It's a fascinating case.